How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Winter Storm. Today is January 31st, 2021, and today we're obviously going to focus on the major Midwest and Northeast snowstorm that's expected to bring up to 2 feet of snow in some areas. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by first taking a look at the radar as of right now. This is as of 3 a.m. by the way. However, by the time you're watching this video, I would say right around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the radar should look a little bit something like this, where we're beginning to see the snow approach the Mid-Atlantic states, and it's pretty much right at New York City's doorstep at this point, and it's approaching New England as well. And snow is going to wind down right around Chicago as this initial low pressure system will weaken as it continues its trek on eastward, and then a new low pressure system will form right around the Mid-Atlantic states. But let's take a look at the radar as of right now, and you see that Chicago is under the very heavy snowfall bands at times. I would say around moderate, between moderate and heavy snow, and we're seeing snowfall rates up to 1 inch. We saw snowfall rates up to 1 inch per hour in Chicago, and the bad news is that it's expected to continue for Chicago over the next several hours, because this low pressure is going to move very slowly, and we're just going to see a lot of snow spiral around over the next several hours. If we continue to take a look at the Futurecast radar, going an hour from now, the snow is still over you guys. Going even as far as 2 hours from now, the snow is still right around the Chicago metro area, and the snow swath even gets a little bit more defined right around the Ohio River Valley, such as Ohio, Indiana, and Detroit is getting involved in the snow, and we're seeing snow heavy at times, and we're still going into 7 a.m. Chicago still deep in the snow, as well as Wisconsin and Iowa. So this is going to be a long duration event for a lot of the Midwest, and obviously, as you know, the Mid-Atlantic will begin to see its first amounts of heavy snow right around the morning time, as we're already beginning to see that right now around 3 a.m. where that snow is already approaching the Mid-Atlantic at this point. As this rain and snow swath continues its trek on eastward, there's going to be a lot of unstable air in the atmosphere, and that will create a new low pressure system right around the Carolinas and right around the Mid-Atlantic states. And this will be the new low pressure system that will dump feet, not inches, but feet of snow throughout the Northeast, as this is just going to be a major snowstorm, and I want you guys to take precaution with that. So let's take a look at the GFS model, and I would say the GFS model is right around this point, maybe a little bit, the low pressure a little bit further eastward, since the storm is definitely now starting to approach the Mid-Atlantic at this point. However, I would say it's mostly accurate right around the 12-hour mark in terms of its forecast run and what's happening right now. But you see the GFS, this low pressure system, initially weakens, but we begin to see a snowfall increase right around the Mid-Atlantic, and then the snow begins to wind down as this low pressure weakens further westward. So good news is that in Chicago it won't be as much as the Northeast, because this low pressure system will weaken, which will prevent it from being a very long duration event for you guys as much as the Northeast. However, it's still going to dump close to a foot of snow in Chicago, so at that point it's considered major. I want you guys to take precaution right around the Midwest states, because this could still cause havoc. There's going to be a lot of snow on the streets, and I don't want you guys driving out in these conditions anywhere in the Northeast and Midwest, because it's just going to be dangerous. It could be life-threatening at times, and always listen to what your officials are saying, and just keep in mind of danger of snow, because it could be a lot, and do not go out unless it's an extreme emergency. But as we continue to move forward, by late Sunday, the snow is already right around New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and by the way, the certainty of this storm is pretty high at this point. I don't expect any major changes, maybe some small changes here and there, but for the most part, this is what you should expect for this storm. So right around late Sunday, the snow should already be in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, extending to Long Island, and then it's pretty much right at New England's doorstep at this point. And the snow is still continuing on in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, where it's going to be a long duration event despite not even experiencing the most of the storm. And you see a lot of snow for Maryland and Washington DC and Delmar Peninsula will occur mainly earlier on Sunday, and then past Sunday it shouldn't snow that much. You might get some snow on the backside, especially in Maryland and Delmar Peninsula, but for the most part in Virginia and West Virginia, the big snow day should be today, so do not go out today, and even tomorrow where you could have a chance of backside snow showers. But if we continue to move on early Monday and going into the Monday afternoon, that snow swath expands, and it completely swallows up the state of Pennsylvania, and New Jersey is starting to get the really heavy snow, and we're seeing this low pressure system form and rapidly intensify off the coast. As look at this big dip in the jet stream, inducing a lot of unstable air in the atmosphere, which is causing a lot of convection. That's going to create very high snowfall rates, and not only that, it's going to be combined with the fact that it is going to be very slow moving, because like I said in many other of my previous videos, there's going to be a huge blocking ridge on the western half of the Atlantic, which is going to block the storm from moving very fast, as it's going to stay and meander over the same area northeast for hours on end. And look, continuing on into early Tuesday and even Monday night, the snow is just going to be heavy at times. 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates are expected in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New England, where it's just going to be the snowstorm's going to cause complete havoc all throughout the Northeast, extending from Washington DC to Boston. And the thing is that it's not like the Interstate 95 corridor won't be affected by this storm. Pretty much all the main cities will be affected by the storm, with potentially over a foot of snow possible in all the major cities along the I-95 corridor. I'm talking about Washington, D.C., I'm talking about Baltimore, I'm talking about Philadelphia, New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, and Boston should all have the chance of receiving over a foot of snow from this. So this is going to be a widespread and impactful northeast snowstorm, and it's just going to be devastating for a lot of people. And you see even extending early Tuesday, you see the snow is still over New Jersey and Pennsylvania after dumping snow all day throughout those states, and then it finally begins to end right around Tuesday night. But we're talking about a 36 to 48 hour snowfall event for you guys in New York City and Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, thanks to how slow this storm is moving, and throughout New England as well, where it's just gonna dump snow for a long period of time. Because the snow in my area, at least now, I'm in Pennsylvania, by the way, I live in New Jersey, but now I'm saying for Pennsylvania to check on this storm. And for Pennsylvania, the snow starts Sunday night, and all the snow doesn't end until Tuesday night, which is just insane. That's a 48-hour time span of snow. Of course, on Tuesday, the snow is going to be on the lighter side. The majority of the snow is going to happen in that Monday time frame. However, even if you include only all day Monday, that's still a 24-hour snowfall event, which you don't typically see every day. And this is expected to be 36 to 48 hour snow event. Just think about that. That's just devastating. The European model also agrees with this, where it's just going to dump. There's just going to be heavy snow dumping all throughout the Northeast and New England. And I want you guys to prepare. There's high certainty with this, and I don't expect major changes in the forecast, as this is going to be just a major and impactful storm for you guys. And I'll make sure to report on it over the next couple of days, as I'll continue to upload live weather forecast out on the field, where it's going to be snowing very hard in my location, where up to 2 feet of snow is expected. And you see the European is taking just very heavy snowfall throughout the Northeast, and this extends to New England as well, and going even further back. Going further back in the time forecast. I'm sort of going backwards with the forecast. I should go in a chronological order, but it's whatever. So here's the snow just extending throughout Pennsylvania. Isn't as the heaviest just yet, I would say, around Monday morning, but it's gonna really start getting heavy as these thunderstorm bands eventually approach the coast and change over from rain into snow as the storm really begins to intensify, and we're going to start to see that thunderstorm activity move closer to the coast. So in terms of snowfall forecast, both the European and the GFS model are forecasting. Let's move forward to 3 days from now, since this should end right around Tuesday to Wednesday. So let's take a look at the snowfall forecast based off of what the the European model is saying, and it's borderline historic in some places. You're going to see the snowfall forecast where it's just going to impact a large area. And is this a 24-hour forecast? I chose 6-hour forecast. So yeah, don't take this as truth. It's only that you're going to only receive 1 inch of snow, because that's far from the case. Let me show you guys the full total snowfall accumulation forecast based off of what the European model is saying. And you see that there's just a large area of close over 20 inches of snow throughout Pennsylvania, and even extending to New Jersey, and this extends as far south as Maryland as well. Washington, D.C. should be right around the 8 inches of snow. Philadelphia is on over a foot of snow, I would say right around the 15-inch mark. New York City is right around 15 inches as well. Boston, Massachusetts is borderline at 1 foot of snow, and it's going to be close for you guys. You could either get maybe on the lower end like 7 inches, or maybe over a foot. It really depends on how the snowfall bands form in Boston, which is very difficult to narrow down because we don't know, because any small differences can make a big difference in terms of where the heavy snow squalls form. But still, whether it's 7 inches or 15 inches of snow in Boston, it's a major snowstorm at that point, especially when it's going to be such a long duration event and bring a lot of strong winds as well. And then throughout Maine, pretty much a good area of 8 to 12 inches. And yeah, in Boston, in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, they should be the worst hit with close to 2 feet of snow and over 20 inches of snow in some areas in the Pennsylvania. And I'm going to be right at pretty much the target, the worst hit area in Pennsylvania, where I'm going to be just far enough inland to not deal with mixing problems, and I'm going to be right at that location where all the convergence and the strongest buoyancy aloft, the strongest buoyancy in air molecules will be, because there's going to be a convergence area of cold air and the very warm Gulf Stream air that's going to converge right around Pennsylvania, and I would say the Poconos Mountains where I'm located. So this is where the heaviest snowfall is supposed to be located, and it's just going to be northwest of Philadelphia, but Philadelphia will still experience over a foot of snow from this. Taking a look at what the GFS model is forecasting at this point, you're going to see that there's just going to be a large area of over a foot of snow extending throughout the I-95 corridor, and it's just going to be just a historic snowstorm. And look at that, over a foot of snow just all throughout the I-95 corridor, just northwest of it for the most part, but still being over a foot in New York City, Philadelphia, and close to a foot in Boston. So in terms of my snowfall forecast based off of both of the computer models, I'm expecting a big area of 18 to 24 inches extending from New Jersey, the southern end of upstate New York, and throughout Pennsylvania, where it's just going to be just I don't want to say it's just going to be devastating when it comes to a snowstorm like this, because it's been a long time since I've experienced a snowstorm this magnitude and this impactful over such a large area. Even that December snowstorm we saw in the middle of December, right around December 16th, it wasn't, I wouldn't say while it was huge in some areas, don't get me wrong, it dumped a large area of over 30 inches of snow, especially in the interior Northeast. I wouldn't say it was as impactful because a lot of the major the most populated areas and cities such as Washington D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City didn't really get the worst of the snow. New York City definitely got hit pretty bad with around 8 inches of snow, and Philadelphia did get some impacts from it, especially I think got around 5 inches of snow, and Washington D.C. did get some snow around 2 inches. However, it wasn't anything major or I would say record breaking in those areas along the I-95 corridor. However, this seems like it's gonna do just that and affect pretty much all the entire Interstate 95 corridor, with all of those areas having a chance of over a foot of snow, especially in Philadelphia, New York City, and even Boston. And Washington D.C. is still not out of the possibility of getting a foot of snow from this. The more likely scenario is, I would say, 8 inches in Washington D.C., but that's still considered a major snowstorm, and it's not only going to affect the cities. It is affecting the Midwest, Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Ohio, and throughout the interior Northeast as well. Will get impacted by this with 6 to 12 inches of snow throughout most of the interior Northeast as well. So this is just going to be one of the worst snowstorms I've experienced in years, I'm being honest. And this could be the last, I think this will be the last snowstorm, especially since I'm in a different location and in the higher elevations where snow is typically a lot worse. So I think this will be my worst snowstorm I've experienced in years. I'm excited to experience it. However, I want you guys to stay, and everyone to stay safe as well, and do not drive unless it's an extreme emergency. And I want to emphasize that because I want you guys to all stay safe. Now, in terms of the wind forecast, the wind will also be another issue, and coastal flooding could arise from it, especially along the coast. If you take a look at the National Weather Service warnings at this point, you see a large area of winter storm warning that's just north of that. There are winter storm watches. However, as we get closer to the event, they're expected to change into winter storm warnings, and we're just and you see right around southeastern New Jersey and Delaware, we're seeing coastal flood watches in effect because there's going to be a large fetch of wind, pretty much bringing a lot of the wave activity towards those coastal regions, and the low-lying areas especially could receive coastal flooding from this. And remember that flooding is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. And while I don't think there's going to be necessarily very life-threatening storm surge, like this won't really be like obviously Hurricane Katrina type storm surge, I'm not saying that, but in the low-lying areas you definitely need to watch out and take major precaution when it comes to coastal flooding like this. And also the wind, I'm gonna show you guys the wind forecast as of right now, and you're gonna see that there's just gonna be very, very strong winds with this storm. So loading this up, you're gonna see that wind gusts over 60 to 70 miles per hour is possible right all along the coast, and this is just gonna be very, very dangerous for a lot of people. And you see that we're seeing the reds, which represent over 80 knot winds, which is equivalent to 40 knot winds, which is equivalent to 50 to 60 mile per hour sustained winds. And that's just going to be, and it's just going to bring a lot of wind over a large area, which will create a lot of coastal flooding concerns throughout the Northeast. So, and I think blizzard conditions could be possible in some areas, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the National Weather Service changes the winter storm warnings to blizzard warnings if they see enough of that strong wind associated with this storm and heavy snowfall as well, which is inevitable at this point. But yeah, this is just going to be a major snowstorm. I'm gonna report on it, guys, tomorrow. I might put out multiple videos, or maybe I might, like after the storm, I might just make one big video combining all the footage I took. I'm gonna wait and see, depending on what circumstances happen during this storm. So I'm gonna wait and see, and I'll keep you guys updated at the very least with snowfall forecasts and forecasts live out on the field in Pennsylvania and right around the Pocono Mountain ranges. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.